It's the Prodigy Makers Show, episode 88, with yours truly, Chris Lewitt. It's great to be back with you guys. On today's show, we're going to talk about summer camps, a guide for parents, a guide for anyone who wants to try to find a good summer camp. So it could be a player too. And I do this show pretty much every spring in preparation for the summer. And I try to talk about best practices for summer camp, as I also run a high performance summer camp myself at my academy. And so I feel I have good insight. I've been running summer camps. I can't believe it. This is my 19th year of running a summer camp. I ran a high performance camp in New York for 10 years, a day camp, and this is my 9th year running a boarding sleepaway and day camp in Manchester, Vermont, which is in the Green Mountains of Vermont. So I feel I have a lot of experience regarding summer camps and how the best summer camps are run for tennis players. And I've also traveled a lot in Europe, especially in Spain. So I have a lot of international experience taking players to camps in Spain and academies in Spain. And I visited other academies in Europe. So if you have any questions about summer camp or finding the right camp for your kid, please chime in, or you can leave a comment later if you catch this on video later, and I'll do my best to answer. I do answer all the comments personally. So I just want to talk about a general overview of camps first, and then we'll go into what it's like to travel internationally to camp and how to find a good camp, particularly in Spain. I can help you find. I can definitely recommend good camps in Spain. I wrote the book Secrets of Spanish Tennis, and I get asked all the time, where should I send my son or daughter to Spain? Before we start the show, I just want to thank our sponsors, iCoach and Topspin Pro. These are products that we endorse. I use them all the time at our academy here in Manchester, Vermont, and they're just a great tool for training at home on a rainy day, on a snowy day. If you can't get to the courts, I definitely recommend using some type of at-home swing trainer so you can get those reps in. Repetitions are the key to becoming great in tennis. So the iCoach swing trainer or the Topspin Pro, I think they're both very good. I've done a number of videos on them on our YouTube channel. Check them out, and I'll leave a discount code if you'd like to buy one through our link. That gives us a commission, and also it gets you a discount, a special discount for my viewers. So thank you for participating in that if you would like to. So general guidance for summer camps. The first thing I would say to parents or players is you want to try to find the right ratio. The ratio is probably the most important question you should ask a camp director. How many players are there? How many coaches are there per player? And how many players do you put on the court? So that, very simply, okay, show over. Is that everything? It's not everything, but it's really a very important part of running an academy or a camp is how many kids are you responsible for. At my camp, we have about 30 kids a week at our maximum. And even for me, that's a lot of individuals to be responsible for their tennis development. I mean, I feel responsible for each and every kid who comes. I don't know if I could run a camp that's larger. I mean, there are summer camps that run into the hundreds or more per week. So that's the first question you should ask somebody in charge. You know, how many kids are coming per week? How do you guarantee individual attention? What type of ratio do you have? What are the qualifications of your coaches? Are they well trained? Are they just high school or college kids? Are they well supervised? Who is actually coaching your kid, and how many players are on the court with each coach? In Spain, they're very famous for their 2-player per coach system, and I think that is absolutely, if you can get 2 players per court, that's fantastic, and per coach. So that ratio is 2 to 1, 2 to 3 to 1, 2 players or 3 players maximum per court and per coach is excellent. So in that way, the coach is not overwhelmed. If the coach has 4 or 5 or 6 players, it's just very easy to get overwhelmed. So it makes every coach better in a camp if they have fewer kids that they're focusing on. So ratio, quality of the coaches. Another thing I would ask is try to be careful of big name programs with very famous head coaches who aren't actually going to work with your kid. So I always give this advice: if you are going to choose a camp or a summer academy, is the head coach around? Is the head coach, is the name on the academy, is that person working with all the players? I can give you lots of examples of academies where the big name is not there, or the big name is only available for private lessons, or the big name is more running things in the office, or the big name is only working with the top ITF kids. So, especially if you have a younger kid, you want to make sure that the really famous, knowledgeable coach is actually available to share wisdom and advice with your child. And so I just watch out for sort of the bait and switch. Like, you see this incredible program, incredible name on the program, and when your kid gets there, your kid is actually not, that person is not accessible to your child. So I think that's also a very important point in terms of summer camp. Another point I would say is fitness. If I run high performance programs, so in terms of high performance, does the camp have serious fitness? A lot of camps, even at really good academies, they water down their fitness, and the fitness is not very professional or serious. And one of the reasons they do that is because they bring in a lot of players who are maybe not as fit as normal. They bring in players who are less experienced, less athletic, maybe not as high level, and so they have to sort of water down the fitness. So try make sure you ask summer camp, do you have professional fitness? Do you have trainers who are, for example, CSCS certified? Do they have a CSCS designation, which is a certified strength and conditioning specialist? Do your trainers have undergraduate or graduate degrees in kinesiology or strength and conditioning, or some field allied with exercise science? That's very important too. So just watch out for, as a corollary, just watch out for very high level academies who just in general water down their program in the summer. That's unfortunately a really common trend in the industry. You have academies that are actually very high level academies where there's very good coaches and very good players, and they're professional places. I can name dozens of these types of academies that are very well known, but actually the summer program is not really the same as the year-round program. So just watch out for that practice where you have an academy that has an excellent annual program. Usually they're called annual programs, and the summer program is highly generalized and watered down. Sometimes they don't even have the same coaches running the summer camps. Sometimes the elite players that are in the annual program are not mixed in with the summer campers. So you just want to make sure that the summer camp doesn't exist as this separate entity that's not really seen as legit by the normal academy coaches and players. And that unfortunately is a really common practice. You have many, many academies that do that now. I mean, one of the problems is that the summertime is where sometimes academies make up a lot of the income that they lose during the year to annual programs, and so they need to bring in hundreds and hundreds of kids to make extra money in the summer, and the program inevitably loses quality and gets watered down. So just watch out for camps that have this bifurcation where the elite kids or the annual kids are not really mixed in with the regular kids, and that can happen at some camps, unfortunately, and that probably won't be a good training experience for your kid. Another thing, just as a general overview, and then we can talk about sort of international camps, but if you have younger kids, obviously you want to make sure that the environment's safe. That's very important traveling internationally, sending your kid overseas. I mean, that's a big concern for parents. I'm a dad with 4 kids. Safety. Do the kids have good mentors? Do the kids have coaches who are caring and good role models? Are the coaches trained in terms of ethics and appropriate behavior with children, especially in a boarding environment? That's very important. Are the coaches background checked? Does the head coach know the staff closely? That's very important, especially if you're sending a young child, especially a young girl. off to a sleepaway camp. I have 3 daughters, and I would be very, very wary of sending my daughters to any sleepaway or boarding program unless I really vetted the head coach and the staff to make sure my kids were safe and were treated appropriately. So just be very careful of that. Unfortunately, I've been to many boarding academies where the standard of ethics and behavior, morality, let's say, is just really, really disappointing. And sometimes the kids are left to their own devices in dorms, both literally in terms of their electronic devices and also metaphorically speaking, left to do whatever they want, like Lord of the Flies. The supervision is very light for the boarding kids, and your kid could be exposed to a very unhealthy social environment off the court. You know, is profanity allowed? Are kids um, monitored for what they're talking about, especially with younger kids around? You know, there's various things that older teenagers could talk about that might be inappropriate for your young child to hear. Are the coaches tuned into that? Are the counselors at the camp aware and watching out for that to keep the safety and appropriateness level for your kid, the topics in discussion right for your child. So just be aware of all those types of factors, including just basic safety. Does the staff have good medical training? Is there someone with emergency medicine background on the staff? Things like that. You just want to be very careful when you're sending your precious child away to a camp. Some camps are run in a very organized fashion and with safety and ethical behavior being monitored, and other camps are run sort of very haphazardly, without in a very disorganized way. And unfortunately, you probably don't want your kid in that type of environment in terms of boarding. So let's talk a little bit about Spanish camps, and let's talk about traveling internationally to a camp. Let's talk about training overseas. So right away, the idea of safety and appropriateness of topics of discussion, ethics and morality, I think those are really high in the list. You're sending your child to a foreign country, so you've got to have a tremendous amount of trust in the people that your child will be not only working with on the court. Obviously, you want to have good tennis training for them and good fitness training for them, but who are the staff people watching them? I've taken many teams to Spain, for example, where there's a bit of a culture clash. I've had students that had you know difficult interactions with Spanish counselors who had a different idea of how kids should behave or what was appropriate or not. And so, like, sometimes when you send your kid to a different culture, there can be significant clashes in terms of expectations and expectations for behavior and the way that staff interact with the child. So that's a really big concern. The language barrier is a big concern. Many parents are cautious to send their child overseas to Spain or France or Italy. Those are the big destinations right now in Europe, I think, for camps. If they don't know the language, and if there are some academies that have lots of staff members who speak English well, and there are other camps that are very much, native, and they use their native tongue much more. And even staff that speak English, it may be very broken English and difficult to understand. So that could be a major issue for your child if your child is feeling lonely, if your child has a concern about the way they're being treated by the staff, or they want to have a good coaching experience on the court. If they don't understand the language well, if they have trouble communicating with the coaches and the staff, that's going to be a lot of wasted weeks of academy training for your kid. So, for example, I brought many kids to Spain where I had to basically interpret most of what the coaches on the court were saying to my students. I brought teams of 10, 15, 20 kids to Spanish academies in the summer. For many years, I did a team trip in August to Spain, went to various academies, and many times I've had students come off the court and say, I have no idea what that coach was telling me to do, or I don't get it. I mean, and depending on what country you're going to, whether it's France or Spain or Italy, there may be a culture clash in terms of what their expectations are for tennis. So that can be quite jarring for a kid to be asked to do something that they're not familiar with on the tennis court, maybe a new type of philosophy that the coach has or a new type of methodology that the player's not used to, maybe back in the States, for example, and they may not understand well what the coach wants them to do, either because the coach is speaking in broken English or using terminology that is like a colloquialism from Spain or from France or Italy. And so now your kid is going to be very, very lost and confused on the tennis court. And that's going to translate to off the court being frustrated as well and having a really, really crappy experience overseas. It's very possible to send your kids overseas and have a crappy experience. I remember one of my students went to France last year for a month, signed up for a month to go to France, and came back terribly depressed. He was lonely, didn't speak the language well, didn't feel like he could connect with the other kids there, the language barriers and different cultural norms, and ended up playing really, really shitty tennis, and came home worse than when he left. 1 month in France, it should be an awesome trip, and it ended up being not a good trip for him, and not a positive experience. And so just be careful. You got to know your kid. Is your kid independent? Can your kid handle some of those bumps in the road in terms of communication? There's bound to be communication issues, just not only with the language, but just with different cultural expectations. So please be aware of that. If you're going to spend a lot of money to go overseas and train internationally, make sure your kid is independent and ready. If your child speaks the language, that's fantastic. That's a big plus. But many academies will do their best to accommodate kids and maybe put them with a coach who speaks pretty good English or things like that. Personally, I would probably never send my kids away to a summer camp overseas if I didn't know someone there personally, like if I didn't have a close connection with one of the head coaches or the owner of the academy. I would only send them to a smaller academy where I would be sure that my child was well cared for and was given a lot of personal attention. You got to remember that most of these academies, the really famous ones in Spain and France and Italy, they have their team of annual players, and the kids who are visiting are really just foreigners. They are guests, they are short-term guests, and sometimes, it's just human nature. Those kids are not given the same level of attention as a kid who's there the whole year. That those kids are not as well known, and the coaches probably don't, just on a it's just psychological. It's hard to invest everything into a kid that is only going to be there for a week or two, and you may not ever see them again, especially if you're a staff coach. If you're the owner of the academy and or the head coach, and you're on court, and the academy's reputation is on the line, like it is for my academy, where I'm on the court every day with the kids, and I really feel responsibility for every child to give them my best, and I make sure my coaches do the same thing. But that's not often the case. So if you're going to send your kid overseas, please I would try to know somebody there. Have a strong connection with someone on the management team or one of the head coaches who can really give your kid that extra special attention and make sure that your kid is getting the VIP treatment. I would be very wary of just signing up for something where you don't really know the team there, and just sending your kid off for a long period of time, like a month or so. That being said, if you're gonna go overseas and do it, and you found a good spot, I would try to go for 3 or 4 weeks. I would try to go for a substantial amount of time. I know people try academies in Spain and France and Italy and for just a week, and it's really not the best way to do it. People do that because they're just pressed for time. They only have like 1 week in the schedule, and they sign up for 1 week. They do it at my camp too, and I always advise the parents, try to come for 3 weeks, try to come for a month, try to come at least 2 weeks, because that way I get to know your kid better, and I can adjust the training and customize it to them, and really start to build a relationship and make a big impact on the player's game. And too many times, if a kid comes for a week, especially overseas, where they're just starting to get to know the kid, they're in and out, in there and gone, and I don't think you're going to get as much out of it, and the staff's not going to, probably at most academies, just think about it logically, the staff's probably not going to feel as invested in a kid who's there 1 week and gone as a kid who's there like a month. Like if a kid's coming for a month, it's human nature. The coaches are going to be like, okay, we got a chunk of time to work with this kid. Let's get to know this kid in the first week. And then week 2 and week 3 and week 4, we'll put together an incredible plan and we'll make this big impact. So like a month, if you can go to some place good for a month. I know some parents don't want to commit for a month. They're not sure if it's good. They're like, can I come for a week and see if it's good? So I understand that, but if you found a good spot, try to do it in a nice chunk of time so that you give the coaches a chance to work their magic. You found a good place with good coaches. It takes time to break through with a kid, to make that psychological connect, that emotional bond with a kid, and then not to, of course, to understand the different nuances of the player's game. That usually takes more than just 1 week. When kids come to my high performance camp, the first week, I feel I'm just getting to know the kid. I'm learning about their game. Can take even more than a week just to get to know, not because you see the technical things, but you really need to get to know a kid psychologically. You have to watch them play. How do they compete? What makes them tick? How do they learn best? And then you can really put together a strong plan to help a child in a summer camp format. And when players come for 1 or 2 weeks, it's really tough. You can make a difference. I do it all the time, but it's hard because everything's accelerated. You have to make a plan very quickly, and you have to learn about the player as fast as you can and try to make an impact. And many times you're just getting going and you're making progress with a player, and then unfortunately they have to go somewhere else. They have another summer commitment. So I think those are some very important points. I would, when you're thinking about Spanish academies, for example, try to find a smaller Spanish academies. Try to find Spanish academies that have been around for a long time, that have a good track record. So parents email me all the time about Spanish academies and where's the best fit for their kid. And every Spanish academy has a different vibe. Just like you've probably tried different educational models or different schools for your child, private school, public school, different size schools, different philosophy of education. It's the same with Spanish academies. There are broad themes and broad philosophical trends that are the same across most Spanish academies. I wrote about that in my book, The Secrets of Spanish Tennis. But try to find academies that are smaller and that have experienced coaches and look for the good ratio, look for experienced track record, and you got to find a place you can trust. If you're not sure, I don't like to go into, like, unless you ask me a question specifically, I don't like to talk bad about this place or that place. I have some places that I think are really excellent, particularly in Barcelona and Mallorca, and especially for summer camp. And I have some other places that I would probably recommend you maybe look in more in an annual situation rather than summer. So if you have a specific question about a specific academy in Spain, why don't you leave that in the comments, or you can just WhatsApp me. A lot of parents WhatsApp me, and then I actually have a lot of my friends from Spain who run academies that have them on WhatsApp, and I can just connect you directly to them in WhatsApp. So that's something that I've been doing for many years now, and I'm happy to make those connections for you guys, particularly in Spain. I don't have those connections in Italy or France. In Italy, I can tell you that the major names in Spain for summer camps are probably, ones that I recommend frequently are Barcelona Total Tennis. I like Bardo. Bardo High Performance is basically the Bruguera team. The Bruguera Academy closed. I used to have a very close relationship with the Bruguera. I still have a good relationship with, but the old Bruguera Academy closed, unfortunately. So these are academies around Barcelona. Four Slam is another one that is, has a great reputation and do an excellent job. Those three around Barcelona are very good quality. I have a long list of Spanish academies that I recommend and that I review in my book, The Secrets of Spanish Tennis. The new book is The Secrets of Spanish Tennis 2.0. If you want to check it out, it just came out. It's a great book about Spanish tennis. And let's see, what else can I say? In Mallorca, Rafa Nadal Academy is obviously an excellent powerhouse academy. It's a huge force in Spanish tennis, but I usually shy away from the summer because they get jammed with players, and they have trouble with some of the things that I mentioned. Keeping the quality real high. But I mean, if you know someone there, if you have like I said, if you have a personal connection, know someone on the team, I think I'm sure you can get good training at RNA. Obviously, they have a whole team of excellent coaches and unbelievable campus. I've been there several times, and it's a great place. I usually recommend RNA a little more in for their annual program, especially when you can pick and choose the team that you're working with rather than just in the summer camp if you're coming in and out. If you do want to go to RNA, it's just, I mean, it's an amazing, it's really more of an experience in the summer. It's an incredible facility. It's in a beautiful, it's in Mallorca, which is one of the most beautiful places in the world. The academy itself is not in like a beautiful town, but it's just 10 minutes from the beach, and it's absolutely gorgeous by the beach side. So Mallorca is like an incredible destination. The place a lot of times I recommend in Mallorca is called Global Tennis. It's Joffrey Porta's academy. Joffrey's a friend of mine. It's very, very intense. So and Joffrey's like a military drill sergeant. So for kid for kids who are not ready for the military, I'm not sure you want to go there. But those are usually like my go-to picks in Mallorca. In Barcelona, just as an overview, Barcelona Total Tennis, Bordeaux, High Performance, Four Slam, would be sort of like the places that I'd start. Also, you can there's many good academies in Barcelona. Emilio Sanchez Academy has incredible history. I've taken players there. I think that's another one that is you have to be careful because in the summer, obviously annually they have an incredible team and program, but in the summer you have to be careful that you're not caught in like a camp environment that's kind of watered down. You have to make sure you know someone on the team. I would always recommend you take their private lesson packages and make sure you're working with one of the experienced annual coaches, not a summer staff member. So that would go for any academy that you visit, but particularly at the bigger academies that have a large influx of kids in the summer, I think that's really important in Spain and in the U.S. I could say the same thing about like an IMG or an Everett or the big academies in Florida. You just gotta watch out. The best thing is to know someone personally and to make sure you know exactly that, like the exact coach who's going to be working with your kid every day, not like some guy on the team. Um, let me see. In Barcelona, I mean that's where I'd start. There are a number of other operations in Barcelona. There's a lot of new upstart academies that are popping up. So there may be some new players. Coming online, in Barcelona. But I like to stay with ones that I've known for many years, and I feel comfortable with their training philosophy, and I know that they do a good job taking care of the kids and keeping the kids safe and that kind of thing. Going farther south, I do recommend Lozano Altor, especially for older kids, boys in particular, higher level kids. Lozano Altor is in Valencia. So in the Valencia area, that's a good option. The Ferrer Academy is also down there in the Valencia Alicante region. So for Academy ATF, Academy Tenis Ferrer, is down there. And another one that I often recommend in that region of Spain is, of course, the Ferrero Tennis Academy, which used to be called Equilite, but now it's called just Ferrero. Juan Carlos Ferrero's Academy. This is where Alcaraz has been training for many years now. And so this is a little further south from Barcelona. This is usually where I've traveled in the past from, over the years. And again, Ferrero Tennis Academy is an incredible place. If you go as an annual student, they have an amazing team, and I couldn't, if I wouldn't hold back a reservation. My concern is I've been there before in the summertime, and it's like, the same kind of situation. They're so famous now because of Alcaraz. They get booked out. They got a big number of kids coming in for the summer, and it just doesn't feel. Sometimes you're there, you don't feel that the summer training is the same as the annual programming. So again, you can see sort of my same concerns. Watch out in the summer. You got to know some. Like if you're going to go to Ferrero Academy, make sure you know someone there closely, and you know the coach is going to be working with your kid, and that you know that your kid will be able to mix with the annual players. That you're not just going to get caught in the summer camp program, sort of in its own little bubble outside of the normal academy operations. I think that's like really, really important, because pretty much every academy, in especially the ones I mentioned in Spain, are really high level academies that can offer excellent training, but the summer sometimes can be a different model, can be a slightly different quality than the annual program. If you're going there during the school year, it's a different vibe, different setup. So please, please be careful if you're thinking about going to Spain, or like, Italy. The big name is like Piatti right now. Everyone wants to go to Piatti. In France, obviously, more Toglu in the south, or French Touch Academy, or big names. I would assume, I don't know those academies as well. I've been to a lot of the Spanish academies. I'm assuming it's the same caution for you guys. What is the summer like? Are the kids segregated? Is there a different staff for the summer than there is for the year-round players? Um, though, is the fitness the same as in the school year annual program, or is the fitness watered down? Like I've been to very elite academies in Spain and elsewhere, where the summertime fitness is not serious, because they don't want to, get the kids injured, because a lot of the kids are coming in for a week, or they're not serious players, and the coach, the fitness staff doesn't want to injure the kids, so they just make the fitness like very easy, which is like a big disappointment for the kids who want to have tough fitness. So those kind of things I would caution you in Spain. If those are the main ones that I would probably recommend. I threw out some names for you guys, and if you have specifics, like I said, leave a comment, or message me privately on WhatsApp. My WhatsApp's 914-462-2912. I don't have a lot of information about the Italian academies or French academies, but having traveled so many times to Europe, I think I can give you, what I said here. I stand by what I said in terms of being cautious and wary. I may have heard from other players who have visited some academies in those parts. If you need some more information from me, I'm happy to help, of course. And please, guys, consider my academy. Sometimes I get queries from parents who want to go to Spain, and I say, whoa, 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 wait, what about me? I'm an expert on Spanish tennis, and I run an excellent high performance academy, and you don't have to even travel overseas. You can do it right here in the US, and I promise that you will get extra special attention, because I'm on the court. Every kid's a VIP. I'm on the court every day with all the players. I work with the top national ranked kids, the ITF kids, but I also work with the youngest beginners, which I'm so proud of that in my camp, is because you don't often see that anywhere. Like you don't see the top, the big name on the academy working with the little kids, working with the 6-year-old, or working with the young 8-year-old who's just starting tournaments, or a 10-year-old who's transitioning, trying to make L5, or whatever. I work with all of them, so that's one of my major selling points for my summer program. But obviously, some people don't want to come to Vermont. They want to go to France or Spain, or travel to Italy, and that is great too. But please be careful. Make sure you have a good relationship with someone on the team, or like through a proxy like me. I can connect with people that I've known for years, that I know that they will take good care of you. Or if that's what that makes traveling overseas, or sending your kid overseas a lot. It's going to be a lot better. You have a much higher chance of having a good time than just like winging it, sending an email and signing up. Like there's a lot of things that can go wrong, as I mentioned, when you're going to do an international camps with your kid, or God forbid, sending your kid away alone. that is an even more risky proposition. I would highly recommend one of the parents being on site or nearby, um, overseas, rather than sending your kid away. Okay, guys, if you have any questions, please let me know. Look, you can do Europe well, or it can go really bad, like that example I gave you. So just please try to follow some of my cautions. Try to be aware of the caveats that I mentioned. And if there's one thing that I remember, please don't send your kid to a place where you don't know anyone very, very well. Make sure you know someone on site very well and know who is coaching your kid on a day-to-day basis. Who is the person actually mentoring and guiding your kid on a day-to-day basis? That's where the rubber meets the road. That's where the improvement comes. That relationship is everything. So you gotta know it can't just be the coach of the day. You have to make sure that your kid is getting that great relationship with a good experienced coach who's going to push them hard, be a good mentor, hopefully be a good role model for your kid while they're away from home. All right, guys, I hope you found this helpful. Please share the show with friends and tell everyone about the program. We're trying to grow our audience. And please subscribe to the YouTube channel. We're doing a lot of cool things on our channel. The channel is growing well, and we do lots of videos on biomechanics and Spanish tennis and junior development. So I hope you enjoy all the new programming on the YouTube channel as well. Thanks, guys. I'll see you on the next program. God bless.